I have a history of giving advice about mass shootings and terrorism. Although I have no verifiable background, I did have the ear of a U.S. Marshal who I knew was a senior member of a spiritualist church which I was a member of. I would convince/advise Jim K. 9/11/1928 to 11/20/2016 about matters of national policy, and my advice was acted upon the next day. My advice history is as follows. May 22nd, 1998, there was a spree of school shootings in May of 1998, and absolutely nobody understood the problem except me. I informed Jim K. by telephone that the shootings were a result of Tim McVeigh being on the front page every day since the Oklahoma City bombing of a federal building. I was referring to the negative energy intended for Tim McVeigh going to school children, but Jim K. said, "They are getting ideas." The next day, Tim McVeigh was removed from the newspapers. The school shooting stopped for about a year. My reward for helping out with the school shootings was being arrested on a made-up charge. While I was wrongfully in jail, Columbine happened. The court clerk didn't know how to file the summary charge I pled guilty to, so I had a felony on my record that I didn't know about for 18 years. The day I was released after going to court, I went to the FBI and a nearby federal building and also spoke again to Jim K. This time I tried to explain, and people just understood the bullying issue. In 1999, I predicted that the problem would continue to get worse as a generation born in 1982 grew into adulthood. It's 2018 and people still just don't get it. Tim McVeigh was executed on my advice to Jim K., and the surviving 9/11 terrorist was spared the death penalty on my advice to Jim K. Jim K. obviously had someone who listened to his consulting advice. I knew about the mass shooting problem because I'm a victim of the same crime. Many of the mass shooters are victims of. This is a crime as serious as sexual battery on a child, but in this case, the victims are punished instead of the criminals. I built up a personal resistance to this crime before the age of 2 because I was a child prodigy. There was a mass killing on my second birthday associated with an alcoholic with my first name, and another serial killing by a psycho with my first, last, and middle names when I became an adolescent. The victim first becomes a victim when he or she is an infant, and it continues for an entire lifetime. There are people who make money with illegal activity, or activity that should be illegal, that needs someone to spiritually pay for the activity that led to this criminal's wealth. The infant victims appear to be selected based on astrology. If you were in a position where nobody listens and or understands, and you have thoughts about killing a bunch of people to show your pain, the nightmare is almost over. Don't do anything you will regret forever. The real enemy is someone you never met since you learned how to talk. If you kill or commit a crime, your enemy wins at your expense. I understand what you are going through from personal experience. Soon, the people you know will understand as a result of this video. This is what I understand. Every setback, large or small, is permanent, and you can't recover. People do things to harm you, but it's always your fault. If you make a friend, he or she soon becomes your enemy for no reason, or they suffer with you. If you mess up even a little bit, you pay dearly. Doctors give you medicine to help, but things only get worse, and you are less able to spiritually defend yourself as a result of the psychiatric medicine. When you do something positive, people misunderstand and treat you like there is something wrong with you. When you seek help, absolutely nobody understands what you are experiencing, and they believe that you must be doing something wrong. So you are facing a huge problem that's bigger than you. You have no support because everybody gets away from you. And your burden is huge enough to crush over 100 people. Here is proof that I understand. When I was growing up, many of my neighbors committed suicide. My childhood friend and his brother attempted suicide when they were 8 and 11. My friend, 11 years old, survived, but lived with the fact that he convinced his brother to die. My school teachers were abusive to me, and my parents sided with the teachers. I developed a fear of writing and had nothing but bad grades, but I had the highest test scores in the city. I managed to get decent jobs from age 12 to age 17, but my money and my professional improvement suddenly stopped the day I turned 18 in 1982. I haven't been able to earn money since 1982. Every job I'm at suddenly stops prospering until they get rid of me. The woman I fell in love with was almost killed by a sicko who caused 10 wrongful deaths and walked from 4 homicide counts. The police were afraid of double jeopardy legal issues concerning dealing with him. While I saved this woman's life with extreme stress, the police slandered me to her family. My next girlfriend suddenly developed mental illness, followed by her entire family getting mental illness. Her and her siblings languish away on psychiatric drugs in the house that's like a mini mental hospital health ward. I've been arrested 3 times on conspiracy-based false police reports and twice convicted due to psychiatric abuse. As I recovered from the psychiatric abuse from the false arrest, my father was murdered. As I recovered from the other false arrest with psychiatric abuse, my mother was murdered. Some criminal owes me $1 million for each year of spiritual abuse since 1964. That's $53 million. Most of the money would go to rebuilding the lives of others who were victimized by my criminal enemy. The only clues as to who this criminal might be are: 1, this kind of thing, either large or small, happens to me every time molecules of the tobacco industry enter my body through cigarette smell. 2, 40% of the tobacco addicts have drug, criminal, or mental health problems, and 72% of tobacco addicts are low income. 3, the 3 cigarettes that I smoked between the ages of 17 and 24, preceded by less than 2 hours, the 3 times in my life I've been drunk, and as I would have been an alcoholic if I were a tobacco addict. As this sort of crime is nearly impossible to prosecute, and to attempt to do so is nothing but a witch hunt with a high percentage of false positives, the only way to fix this problem is to be aware of this. Psychiatrists need to be educated that this sort of crime is possible and to develop methods of diagnosing a person as a victim. I offer to let them study me and my history for the purpose of understanding what to look for in a victim, but I need a promise that they won't cause me more of the same nightmare. If the victims of this crime are allowed to recover and prosper, the mass shooting problem will go away. It's time that America focuses on healing our collective mental illness. 75% of America's illness is associated with tobacco addiction. I recommend that people who market tobacco add another product such as scientifically engineered vitamin supplements that are typically multi-level marketed. I don't care if the supplements are nothing but placebos or if they actually work. Anything is better than marketing a disease. Then we can focus on phasing out tobacco addiction. I have a lot of ideas for ways to fix America's problems, but I don't have the ear of national decision makers. I sometimes share my ideas in casual conversation with people that know me, but this here isn't the time or the place.